Hi everyone, and welcome to this session on Make Your Career Future Ready, Essential Skills for Health and Safety Professionals. To discuss this really important area, I'm delighted to welcome James, Jennet and Roy to share their wealth of knowledge and experience with us. Welcome everyone. James is a director at Irwin and Colton, a UK leading specialist health, safety and environmental recruitment company, and has recruited, studied, worked and volunteered within health and safety and sustainability for over a decade. Jennet is a lecturer at the Faculty of Occupational Health and Safety Management at the School of Business, National Louis University, Poland, and founder of HSE Academy and Risk Management School in Poland and Ukraine. Roy is Senior HSE Supervisor in an oil and gas support services company in Dubai and co-founder and former president of Filipino International League of Safety Advocates, a non-profit organisation focusing on the enhancement of competency levels of fellow Filipino safety practitioners. So we're in really good hands here to get some really good advice and guidance from our expert panel. And as we do that, if participants could remember, you've got your Q&A button if you'd like to ask a question or you have a point to share with us today. So as we all know, the past 18 months presented a multitude of challenges, but also, I believe, opportunities for health and safety professionals. And as our panel share views from around the world, we'll be giving guidance to you all on not only how to survive those challenges, but also thrive by using those opportunities. So James, if I could ask you to start us off, what do you think are some of the key challenges that the pandemic presented 18 months ago and continues to present for us?
Thanks. So there's some big challenges felt across the globe, particularly from a job and employment standpoint in the last 18 months since the pandemic. So clearly, you've got huge job losses in certain industries, particularly were very badly impacted, and overall uncertainty across the globe. What was a huge challenge. I think specifically within health and safety, it was an extremely busy time, particularly at the start of the pandemic, when when guidance was changing almost daily. Very high pressure, a dynamic environment in which senior leaders were operating in. Overlaid with that, in the UK, especially the furlough scheme was introduced, which saw huge swathes of health and safety professionals go on furlough, and health safety leaders having to create and implement solutions, often with no team, which was a huge challenge, and put some really big stresses on the senior leaders.
Jennet, would you like to add anything to that on the challenges?
Yes, fully agree with James. I think it's been a challenging year for everyone, especially for health and safety professionals. And I think because all stands for health and safety, it was time where we had to really integrate health into the risk management processes more than ever before. Because for so many years, the expectations, if it comes to the health and safety professionals, was about technical health and safety, but now we had to think about health crisis management. We had to cooperate on the multiple levels, and sometimes it wasn't only about the context of the organization. We had to go wider. We had to consider the context of the organization on the national level, because we had to face with multiple changes within the legal requirements. And from that perspective, I think it was challenging because we had to re-evaluate our competencies, re-evaluate the expectations from our clients, from our workforce, from our colleagues. And maybe it was a chance for us to have a better conversation, to have a better platform to understand our needs, and to see how the pandemics verified the level of leadership, the type of leadership, how we managed to get through the crisis. So fully agree with James, and I think the problems and challenges that are different, but at the same time so unique and so individual from country to country, from company to organizations.
Yeah, thank you. Roy, over to you to get your view.
Yeah, speaking on the perspective of this particular region where I'm currently employed with, knowing that most of the workers here in the Middle East, specifically in UAE, are relying on the basis of having a work permit and residence visa. So one of the main challenges during the pandemic was the security of work, the job security as well. I mean, one of the main drawbacks of this pandemic was exactly and it's still up to now, it's happening, about the redundancies and the terminations that are happening left and right. Just recently, it's good that we came to know that UAE has promulgated a policy now that whoever has been redundant or terminated can extend up till 180 days here in UAE without any penalties, but which helps a lot to those who are jobless, so that there will be no pressure for them to look for a job. And at the same time, there will be no forced acceptance of any offers that are being given because of the limited number of days that are actually being given to the employees or the applicants to accept the offer. So, well, that is one of the major things, considering the fact that we are staying here only on the mercy of having a residence visa because of the work permit. Another challenge you can say that we have experienced here in the Middle East and is that because of the dynamic nature of the pandemic, wherein during the peak period of the pandemic, policies from the national government down to the local government are changing, not even a day, but minutes. So companies, especially in the top management level, are helpless also on what they need to do. And they normally seek the help or the expertise of the health and safety professionals, who are also caught unaware and not prepared with the situation. So due to that, there happen to have unclear roles and responsibilities. Some of the things that are not supposed to do by the health and safety professionals are being given because they don't know exactly what to do and what to look for. So those dynamic changes have affected tremendously the health and safety professionals here because of severe multitasking and resulting to distress because either the top management accepts or rejects the job that they are doing. Because if there's no clear roles and responsibilities, then the expectations will also not be clear. And second thing, because as time passes by, if this continuously being done, then there is a principle of distress and burnout also on the part of the employees. Apparently because, I mean, even machines need to have a relaxation period, and especially for human beings. So these are the main challenges that we have experienced here. Working as an expatriate is a very big issue here because you don't have any choice. If you were, for example, being given an offer, you need to be reduced for half or 20% of your salary. It's like accepting an offer which you don't have any choice at all, just to stay afloat here while the pandemic is going on. So those are the main challenges that we experience here.
Thank you. There's a question that I think has some relevance to what you've all been saying there about the dynamic nature and the pace of change, and it's around professionals having to expand the skill set, and I think you've all touched on that. So, you know, the participant here is talking about having to engage in changing cultures, and also as people start to return into workspaces, they're having to be involved in policies like hybrid working and agile working. Do any of you had any experience or views on that? Jennet, can I come to you on that one first?
Yes, that's actually a continuation of what Roy had experienced in his region. I think the dynamics and all those changes, they were changing as well. So in the beginning, what we call it, I think, uncertainty, because we didn't know anything about the COVID itself. So we're trying to cope and utilize the crisis management. So in the beginning, it was more about home working, homeschooling. and all the challenges and burden that was on the top management, the way the companies were managing, the way the families were managing the workload and homework balance. But then we moved to another stage, I think, of the COVID, when we went to the hybrid, but from uncertainty, we went into the more risk management, and we had a better understanding what we're dealing with, and we started implementing those preventive actions. And I think there is another stage where we had to implement the requirements, preventive natures, preventive activities, corrective actions, we started doing all the training. And the way of training changes. We went into more technology, trying to use Teams, Zoom meetings. Then we mentioned about the social distancing, not physical distances, so mental health issues, the workload, and we again experienced different type of problems where we lost that balance between the workload and the homeworking. And then we came to the last stage, and I don't know, we're still in that stage where we're talking about from hybrid, we're going back to work. And then again, completely different dynamics, completely different challenges. And today we're dealing about how much we're ready to be back to work, how much we're ready to implement on work at work requirements and the preventive actions. So as we can see, those challenges, they were moving the same way as COVID was challenging us, we were challenging ourselves. And the same applies to the health and safety professionals, because the expectations were not only to deal with physical and mental health, but at the same time participate at the board level in the crisis management, in apply maybe behavioral changes. We lost at some point what are the expectations from health and safety professionals, because in one day we had to cooperate, and we are still cooperating with HR, with the medical department, and with external organizations, with legal department. From other side, I think we're slowly coming to the topic of opportunities and chances we gained during COVID. So I'll stop here, and maybe James can share some of his experiences, maybe some points.
Jennet, thank you. James.
There was a great summary, Jennet, and I'd echo a huge amount of that. And I guess what we saw in the UK initially, I guess one of the upsides of the lockdown was people no longer having to, a lot of people not having to commute, and London not having to see themselves on a tube for an hour and half a day. And I guess it was one of the few benefits and positives. But interesting what we're seeing now in the employment market in the UK, both for health safety professionals and those that they're responsible for, is that there seems to be a bit of an undercurrent now of look, working from home's great, and that kind of environment's great, but also people really miss that personal contact, and it's been 18 plus months now since people have been working by themselves from home, and I think there's a real push now to define that balance and find that mix across businesses. I think from organisations as well, there's a real understanding that people are missing that what they're calling the water cooler moment, and I think this is true for so many up and coming health and safety professionals, where I guess it was never really formally recognised the amount of training and learning and development that doesn't happen in a structured environment, and actually happens from people simply watching others in the work environment, particularly the graduates, so the very new people into a health and safety role. How do they learn how to do their job from home? And indeed we placed people in fairly new positions, and they started those roles from home, and some of the organizations that I work with really went over and above to really do everything they could, because they simply couldn't bring those people into the office, and so they did everything they could to make those people feel part of the team, to upskill them, but still it's that informal learning that they've really recognised has been a missing component, in addition to that personal contact. So it'll be interesting to see where we go back to. I can't envision a time where we're going to go back to what we were like before, but indeed I think it's a push from the space to then find a hybrid model.
Yeah, James, thank you. I mean, there's all this talk now about the new normal, isn't it? But not much detail around that. Yeah, I mean, we introduced the sessions about the challenges of the pandemic, but, you know, I hear this across so many sectors and professions that actually a really dreadful situation has brought some positives and some opportunities. So, Roy, would you like to lead on that? What do you feel are the opportunities that have been presented to the health and safety profession?
I think it's better if I will share my own experience with regards to this opportunity, knowing that my position in the organization doesn't require to have some kind of decision making. But I was given an opportunity during the time to be part of the crisis management team. It was outside of my comfort zone, apparently because, as I said, it's not actually my bread and butter as far as the organization is concerned. But I can say it's a forced job for me to assist the top management in developing the business contingency plan and how to go about the rapid changes of this dynamic changes in the pandemic. So although I personally said to the management that I don't have any training as far as business contingency plan development is concerned, but the management took chance for me to be part of the crisis management team, hoping that they could be able to generate something out from my perspective. So that's one of those influences that I was able to give to the top management, although not necessarily in the usual case that I have that opportunity to deal with the top management. So that is one of the classic example that how I was able to be visible as far as the eyes of the top management, because most of the time senior managers or managers are only the ones that are involved in the decision making and planning of these aspects. But I was given an opportunity. So I can say that on the other side, pandemic gave me an opportunity which is beyond the usual, which is unusual really. Pandemic is unusual, but something that I could not be able to gain, or probably in my lifetime, being in this position if I am in the different organization. So I can say that is one of the benefits, if we can say benefit, of having this pandemic. That's it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. So widening that skill set as Jennet was referring to earlier. Jennet, do you want to add anything to that on the opportunities from your point of view?
I don't know, maybe because of my positive nature of myself, trying to see the chances and opportunities everywhere. But to summarize, from my perspective, I look at the opportunities and I have two major categories. The first category is more about skill sets. Today, we're more globally connected than ever before. And I think this is very important to understand that today we're talking about opportunities for any, even beginner, someone who just starts his career in health and safety. It's more about networking opportunities. It's about mentoring, access to the professional training online and courses that never was before, because all the companies, whenever we were talking about online training, say, no, we want a face-to-face. But now they say that it's okay, and the quality might be even close and sometimes even better. We're talking about access to information, materials, support from different groups and organizations, whether at the national level, for example, raising campaign in Central and Eastern Europe, like Ukraine, Poland, best practices, live events, shows, different organization, ability to directly ask questions and get instant answers from the world leaders and experts in health and safety and different mentoring opportunity. That's a category number one. And the second one, I think today, health and safety professionals, they have a bigger say at the board level. I think today we're talking about integration of health and safety issues into the business decision. It becomes more apparent. We're talking that complexity and understanding the needs of organization. Today, we do have an influence of that. Health and safety professionals today, we have ability to articulate health and safety on the commercial terms, of course, as well as the other usual moral, ethical, and financial arguments. Just because of pandemics, I think that today health and safety professionals, they have their voices heard at the board level, and that's another opportunity. So, and I think we have to use this opportunity to develop our skills and to cooperate and work together with our management. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I've heard that from a lot of people in the profession, that there is this newfound or greater respect for the profession, and that's a great example of that being integrated into the board level conversations. James, have you any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'd echo exactly what Jennet said. Particularly at the start of the pandemic, health safety had a voice within organisations that it didn't have previously in many instances. They were able to have exposure across huge organisations, and the ability to drive solutions, and that exposure doesn't suddenly go away. It's something that those personal connections, as well as something that I've heard from clients and candidates, have, although of course they've started off as a focus on the pandemic, but they've been able to use those also when creating solutions around the safety agenda, and so it's pushing the whole agenda forward. In many instances as well, although obviously, unfortunately, there's been a huge number of job losses. There's been the ability for some in the profession to gain new resources that perhaps they didn't have before, and that may include growing teams. So recruitment, the recruitment market, and particularly in the UK at the moment, is extremely busy for health safety professionals. We've also seen some given additional budget to invest in technology and technology solutions that perhaps they didn't have before, and that again is helping to drive the agenda. I think that one of the biggest opportunities as well is something that Jennet touched on. The world is so interlinked now, and this pandemic, if anything, really brought together a number of health and safety professionals, both on a local, global level, to share ideas and information on how to combat the pandemic. So really some really big opportunities here, and what has been a really difficult time.
Yeah, thank you. There's a few questions in around that, and one, I think it really links, Jennet, to your really powerful statement there about we're more globally connected than ever before. I mean, this absolutely touched all corners of the world. A question here is, what are the key lessons from the pandemic, and are we doing enough to share best practice?
The key lesson, I keep saying that sometimes I hear that pandemic impacted the safety culture, or it's improved the safety culture, or deteriorated, which I believe that pandemics, the key lesson, that it's verified our leadership style, verified how strong and resilient the organizational leaders are. It did verify how strong we are, how united, how robust our health and safety management system, how robust and how genuine and caring and servant our leaders and our managers. And I think that's what happened, that during pandemic, the key lesson is actually, when you analyze now what's happening, that the moment when we can look back for a year ago, 12 months, and analyze your strength, analyze your chances, and analyze your gaps within your management system and within your safety culture, understanding, and it's going to be different from organization to organization. Obviously, we might think that we can categorize them into mental health, psychological safety, leadership, talking about motivation, awareness, crisis management. But I think if it comes to the gaps and lessons, it's going to be individual from company to company.
I think so many learnings out so far from what's happened the past 18 months. I guess a huge one huge part that we hear in particularly in the UK, where there's a huge drive to really focus on the health agenda, is that traditionally we've people have shouted safety but whispered health in organisations, health and safety agenda, and this has obviously given a balance to that equation, perhaps in some regards. I think as well, one thing that's really shone out is the ability for organisations to change and adapt at speed, at a speed that nobody would have ever imagined possible, pre this crisis. I mean, simply look at what we go back to, people picking up and working from home. You never would have thought that was possible for organisations to exist, and then why not? And perhaps that opens the door, the opportunity for some real innovation to come. And if people start asking that question, why not, rather than why, then perhaps that's a real something, again, a real positive to come out of this.
Yeah, thank you. And again, that seems to be a really common theme, that the restrictions of the pandemic and all the challenges have actually born creativity and innovation and motivation, some real positives. Building on that, there's a question here. What advice do you have for your fellow professionals? And there's another question that links into that, is, has the skill set of the health and safety professional changed? And what advice do you give today's health and safety professionals? How do they get their head around all these changes and all these new skills? Jennet, to you.
Yeah, I believe that. And now we're talking about health and safety professionals and their future needs and expectations. And expectations are growing and growing all the time. And today, I think we have to make sure that, first of all, my advice will be incorporate and looking into the future. Today, health and safety is not a standalone department, or never was, but today even more, it's not a standalone people or department who is dealing with health and safety. We need to think that health and safety is more professionals. It's about understanding the needs of equality, inclusion, diversion, talking about being part of sustainability programs, resilience, working toward the sustainable development. Human capital, another thing that I'm looking for, is being engaged, recommending, encouraging policies and implementing social and welfare activities. Talking about internal, external stakeholders, talking about psychological safety, more skills and experience with regards to mental health, understanding how mental health will become a part of the occupational health programs, understanding the stress, anxiety, post-traumatic disorders. All those new skills will be required, and those skills will have to be part of the risk management skills, which are core and one of the core skills of any health and safety professional, and communication skills, ability to talk to anyone, trying to get a persuasive ability to engage, motivate, recognize, initiate, create. So today it's not only about prevention. I think the future of health and safety professionals is about prediction, ability to analyze the data and have those technical competencies in combination with the behavioral competencies, with the core values, understanding the mental health issues, psychological safety. And all together, we need to work toward the continuous improvement within the sustainable development and resilience. I think that's a set of new skills sometimes overlooked by health and safety professionals.
Perfect, thank you. Roy, your thoughts around this?
I think more than anything else, I think as a health and safety professional, communication skills is very important. Although technologies are already in place due to remote working, but personal interaction is totally different from the remote working, especially if there are some cases wherein you need to send messages via text messaging. The different cultures, different personalities may have different perspectives and understanding on the same message that you are going to send. So communication skills is very important, especially nowadays that reports are being sent left and right, presentations needs to be done. So it should be clear from the start so that it will be clear what messages you want to convey. Another thing is that, of course, being resilient as part of these changes, you need to be more adaptable and flexible because you don't know. Now, it seems like, for example, here in Dubai, everything starting to goes back to normal. But we even don't know whether the pandemic has already waned off or it's just, a sleeping dragon again, that again, something will happen for the next wave. So we need to understand the dynamics so that we can, like what Jennet said, we need to know how to forecast things because like what you said, this is a VUCA world, okay? Volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. So these things needs to be part of the skill set of any health and safety professional. And normally when we consider lessons learned, normally we connote that to something that has failed, a project that you have failed to achieve. But we fail to realize that there are also lessons that we need to consider for those successes, because so that we can carry over to the next project, so that in future, less mistakes will happen considering the situation right now. And last but not the least, I think one of the major things that a health and safety professional should have is that we are already experts in risk assessment and risk management, but we haven't realized the importance of opportunities. So we did not consider opportunity assessment. How, if in case something goes wrong or the volatility or the ambiguousness happens and your job, as far as our job security here is concerned, what is your chance to be getting hired, or what skill set or knowledge do you have right now? Why the organization still keeps you in the organization? What can they generate out of your services? So this opportunities assessment is not being carried out nowadays. As I said previously, what pandemic gave us is an opportunity to self-reflect. Do we have enough of what the organization requires us? Okay, not only within this organization where you are working right now, but probably in other organizations in other parts of the world. How competitive you are, what is your bargaining power at this stage, if in case that I want to transfer from one industry to another. So risk assessment is already probably part of our lifeline as a health and safety professional, but we fail to realize that opportunities should also be assessed. So these are the things that I would suggest for someone, advice for someone who's in this field at this point.
Right, thank you. That's some great advice. And Jennet and Roy, from both of you, really wonderful to hear that we can learn from the positives as well. Yeah, really great advice. James, anything to add?
Absolutely. I mean, that's some great advice. I guess my advice more focused and tailored towards those who are perhaps in the employment market or looking at their careers. And I guess that the number one thing at the moment, as we always say, is really have a plan. Have a plan for your career. Health and safety professionals are excellent at planning for their own organisations, but perhaps for their own career, not so much. And you're in your career for up to 40 years, and so if you want to end up at a certain point, have that and the clear of the objective to get to the better. And once you've got that goal, then everything else can fall into place. And I couldn't agree more on what Jennet and Roy said around upskilling. Some great qualifications out there, accessible qualifications. Going back to what we talked about before, where organisations perhaps are more willing now to invest in those as well. So look for that opportunity and take the opportunity, because now is that time. NEBOSH offers some great courses, but also touching on what Roy and Jennet said, look at the bigger picture. So what's happening in health and safety at the moment, the use of big data, of big technology, what kind of skills can you learn? How can you do that? What kind of courses can you do to be on top of that? The huge push in the UK at the moment is always for health safety professionals to really look and focus on those on the softer skills. How to influence, engage, get buy-in. How can you upskill around that? It's really something to think about. So that's really some advice I had. I guess that the last piece of advice, with two pieces, are really look for networking opportunities. I think health and safety is a fantastic space for collaboration. I don't know many health safety directors that if someone were to reach out to them and ask a question or ask some advice, they wouldn't assist with that, and so use the networking. There's plenty of opportunities for that. And I guess last but not least, it's been a really challenging time for so many people, but just try and keep positive, and positivity, particularly when you're looking at a career search or career hunt. Everything's not going to go right, but if you keep that positive attitude, then good things will happen.
James, thank you. There's a question here that I will come back to on, James, and it's from a practitioner that's been a practitioner for more than 20 years. And the question is around, has the promotion of the profession changed? So I can relate to this, because when I came into the profession, it wasn't seen as a profession to naturally go into. You kind of ended up as a health and safety professional rather than set out to be one. Do you see that that's changed, that there is more recognition now and people actually want to be a health and safety professional?
It's a great question. I've been to so many events and conferences where people have brought this topic up, and to be honest with you, I don't think it has been completely approached and really focused on. I haven't seen that happen out there. I think there's a stat where it's 84% of people, health and safety is a second career, and so often they might come from facilities, from a technical role, from an operations role. So many different areas, and of course that really adds value to them as health and safety professionals. They know how the organisation works. In regards to it being a career of choice for those who perhaps leave school and then say, great, I want to go to perhaps tertiary education and study health and safety and then go straight into the career. I don't think in the UK I'm seeing an increase in individuals doing that. There is the health and safety apprenticeship scheme in the UK, which is bringing people into the into the space, and that's a great scheme that's really been driven by some leaders across health and safety. I guess perhaps what I'm seeing more of is individuals from outside the UK who are increasingly studying health safety as a career, perhaps from Australia, New Zealand, Ireland, and then starting off on that and then driving that through as a career. So look, I absolutely hope that will change, because it's a fantastic career for anybody. But yeah, as you said, a lot of people still tend to come into it later on.
James, thank you. Jennet, any thoughts around that? We are moving into the last few minutes of this session, and the time has flown by, but Jennet, any response to that and any final comments from you?
I think it looks a bit different from this part of the world. I'm talking about the Central and Eastern Europe. Health and safety, I'm very privileged to work in the health and safety. By my first degree, I'm a medical doctor, and that was a career choice and change, I think, in career choice. In this part of the world, and I see more and more students coming to the university, and there is, I think, there is a choice that they made that they want to be health and safety professionals. And an overall image of health and safety profession is growing and improving, and I'm very happy, because I would like to just to finish with my words that health and safety is a multidisciplinary science. Work, career, anything. So you join health and safety, you join everything: technology, engineering, soft skills, communication, human capital, sustainability, development, and you can talk till tomorrow, because it's just absolutely amazing area to work with people, around people, about people, changing their life, changing their work conditions. Thank you.
Jennet, thank you. Really powerful words. Roy, any closing thoughts from you? We're in the last couple of minutes.
Yeah, thank you for that. Just to give you an idea, in the Philippines, although I'm not working there at this point, health and safety just recently been considered as one of the top priority as far as health and safety professionalism is concerned. So I myself is a classic example wherein I'm a chemical engineer. All the way I took my postgraduate courses until PhD. But the thing is, I chose to stay in health and safety because I know that, like what Jennet said, it's different when you're dealing with human beings rather than machines and processes. So it's a good thing at this point. It's not yet saturated as far as Philippine setup is concerned. So everyone is being welcome to join and be part of the health and safety community. So, and of course, I'm one of those people who are hoping that these aspirants will go for the NEBOSH qualifications because it made me really complete person as far as the health and safety professional is concerned. Thank you.
Thank you. A huge thank you to you all. It's been an absolute pleasure and a privilege to chair this session with you. James, Jennet, Roy, you're an inspiration to all health and safety professionals, and I can only echo your words that the profession is an amazing one, and never have I been more proud to be part of that profession than over the last 18 months and to share stages with people like yourselves. So thank you. All that remains is for me to say huge thank you to all again, and to everybody that's joined us. Stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.